Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Jan. How are you today?
Excelente.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Now, as you know, we are the team people. It's all about teams, and so we're really interested in some of the leading edge thinkers that talk about teams, how to make them more effective and high performing. And we love a lot of the work that is coming out of Patrick Lencioni and his team of people. So let's dive right in. Basically, there are 5 dysfunctions of a team, and we're going to start at the bottom because the bottom is really the foundation.
Yeah,
and if you can get this one right, it's almost like, you know, you are well on your way to creating a high-performing team.
That's right, and it's building momentum, and it's from every layer that supports the next layer. You can't get one without having a good foundation from the other. Now, even though we have our own high-performing team assessment, this is a really good starting point to have a conversation with your team as a people leader.
Absolutely. And you know, we can talk about how could you use this. We have a template in that is attached to this to give you some ideas on how you might like to use this.
Okay,
so let's dive right in and have a look at the first area or the first dysfunction, and that is the absence of trust. Now, teamwork begins, according to Patrick, and it's so true, by building trust. And the only way to do that is coming from a place of vulnerability, because it's when you are vulnerable and you can still share that vulnerability with someone and feel okay, you know you're halfway there. And it's interesting, the definition of trust is that it's a psychological state where you accept vulnerability based upon the positive expectation of the behaviour of another. And so you know, I'm okay with you. I know that I can be totally vulnerable and I'm still going to be okay.
So there's this element of that you will accept me for who I am and the diversity that I bring, and that I don't have to be fearful or putting up my defence mechanisms.
That's right, because you're not going to cut me down. And so where does that leave you as a people leader? The idea here is that if you want to build trust within a team, then you need to go first.
That's right. You need to have the character and the will.
That's right.
To do that. So the way in which you do it is that when things aren't going well in the team, perhaps that's the time to go, I'm really struggling with the team. You know, tell the team that this is what you're really struggling with and this is what you need and this is the support that you're looking for. So that's another example of showing that vulnerability and speaking your truth if things aren't going well.
That's right.
So that's the first layer, trust. The next one is fear of conflict. And I love the way in which the way in which it, I suppose, plays out is there is a desire to preserve this artificial level of harmony, which actually stifles this productive, constructive conflict. So the opportunity here is how are we embracing diversity of thought, values and way of operating?
That's right. So one of the strategies for leaders is expect and demand that everybody weigh into a decision, that they have an opinion and that they share that opinion. Because so often we hear people going, that's okay, or they
just reiterate
they don't want to commit.
And as a leader, you want to have your opinion last and you want to be able to acknowledge the validity of everyone else's opinion.
That's right. Well. And I like the idea of going last because so often we see the leader going first and then everybody just reiterates what the leader has said. And so remember, conflict is okay. You know, it's how you actually deal with the conflict. That's the thing that is going to build strength within your team. So that's the...
Because conflict does have a loaded energy to it.
Yeah.
So it could be just diversity, looking at diversity of thinking and thought and ideas and approaches.
That's right. And this thing about not wanting to create conflict, I don't know where it came from. Maybe it's just part of the anti-bullying psychology that's going on at the moment. However, I really like that idea, Jan, in terms of looking at it as diversity of thought. And expecting that from everyone. Everyone will have something to contribute, and your job as a leader is to mine for that, like go deeper, dig deeper for it and expect it.
Great. So the next foundation is the lack of commitment.
And so this is when people agree on the surface and they feign agreement, but but don't really commit. That's the issue.
And it shows up by having this lack of clarity or buy-in, which actually prevents the team from making decisions that they will be able to stick to. So very solid, clear decision-making processes will help the team support commitment.
That's right. And you can see how each of these builds onto the other, because if you have fear of conflict and you've got that surface level of harmony and you're not allowed to have that rigorous debate, then how do you buy in if you haven't
get clear?
Had a chance? Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So what do you actually mean? And so the question is, so what do you actually mean by that? What is the outcome that you're looking for? If you were to see this in our team, what would you be seeing and hearing and experiencing? So it's having those really good questions up your sleeve.
That's right, and that is your job as a leader, and we talk about this all the time. Clarity, clarity, clarity. You've got to create it, you've got to seek it, you've got to communicate it. It's very important.
The next foundation or dysfunction is avoiding accountability.
Yeah, this is where people just feel uncomfortable, uncomfortable having the difficult conversation or holding somebody to account. The best and most high-performing teams are where the individuals hold one another to account. They don't come to you as a people leader and say, oh, such and such isn't pulling their weight. I think you need to deal with that.
So I've just had a conversation with someone on the phone and she said, I don't know what to do. Do I start being a badass? Because I've inquired, I've emailed, I've even phone called, do you need support? And I'm not just getting the buy-in. And so what is the root cause behind people not actually doing what they say they're going to do? And how do we, as either a people leader or a colleague, support people to do what you're actually relying on them to do? Because at some level there is a cause or a source. And maybe this personal discomfort around, okay, if I said yes to you, I'd need to say no to something else, or I don't actually want to put myself out there. So how do we then set up an environment that allows people to say yes, get the support they need, and you get what you want? So, for example, in my case, she needed to get some of her colleagues to for some advice so they could upload some training material. And every time she emailed them or phone called, they said, yeah, I'll do it, but they didn't actually do it. So the outcome that we suggested was to hold a working meeting, so have people on the calendar, on the conference call, and get the information there and then, instead of waiting for them to come back to her. Diarise it, and so you have all those people in the room and they will then supply that information for you.
It's a good strategy. So this is where some of the skills that managers can use every day, having that difficult conversation, the avoiding of accountability. Now, in a team, you want to get to a stage where the team members are holding one another to account. However, it starts with you. If they don't see you leading the charge, having the difficult conversation, catching that red flag early, oh yeah, Bill's been in late 3 times this week, I'll let it go.
And, and we're not saying do it in public, in the team, but nothing ever goes to
unnoticed
as a leader.
Yeah. That's right. So you start, and that's what it is. It's actually confronting the difficult issues early. And you doing it as a leader. You have to lead in this space. It's so important.
So the question for you now, listening to this podcast, what are you avoiding because it's personally discomforting for you?
Yeah, what is that difficult conversation that you're not having with your team members?
And how many times have we coached people where we've actually sat down and they've had a plan, and when they have the conversation they go, oh my God, I can't believe how well it went. That's and right. There's such a change, because people really do want to do their best. We just need to either get rid of the roadblocks or support them.
Yeah, start having the conversations regularly, having them early. Which leads to the
pinnacle.
The last dysfunction of a team is inattention to results. And this is all about people pursuing their own or individual goals and objectives over the group's objectives. So it's all about me and what I need to achieve in my time frame, as opposed to what does the team or the group need in order for us as a team to be successful.
Yeah, which really stops the team from being able to succeed. And again, Michelle, we have been involved with the leadership team that this has happened as well, is people putting, their team's individual goals over the organisational goals. So how do we actually foster this collaboration and knowledge sharing? And it starts with the people leader. So where are you putting the organisation or your team above you and your personal or professional rewards?
That's right. And when you're having conversations with your team members, are you just focusing on their individual goals that they need to achieve, that, that collectively become the team's goals? Or do you start with our team wants to be seen as X, Y, and Z? How are you supporting that collective goal? So what are the team goals that you are starting with giving emphasis to? Then that's when they start to think, oh, okay, yes, this is about the collective, and I am just part of that group.
So we have to have those physical structures that support the outcome that we're after. So what are those examples and structures that you can put in place? Do you have team goals as opposed to just individual goals in your development
plans? Are you talking about them? Are you measuring them? Are you rewarding?
Acknowledging. Yeah, that's right. So the 5 dysfunctions: absence of trust,
fear of conflict,
lack of commitment,
avoiding accountability,
and inattention to results.
Patrick Lencioni.
Yeah. So we hope this has been useful for you. Download the template and start the conversation.
Great.
Thank you for joining us on the People Leaders Podcast. For show notes and other resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. If you have a leadership or management question or subject you'd like covered on the podcast, please contact us at podcast@peopleleaders.com.au. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts On Air Podcast Network.